Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel. In today's video we'll speak about mainly three topics. Kalvin Philips close to Juve because he's opening to his transfer in Torino. Then we'll speak about Huijsen possible transfer on loan to Frosinone, and finishing with a recap of the training session of yesterday that told us and brought us a lot of newness. Not only a possible change of formation, but maybe even a change in the duo up front. Will it be the bench for Dusan Vlahovic against Frosinone? Question mark. We'll speak about all these topics after you, because I'm asking kindly to put a maximum of like on today's video and to continue to subscribe. We are that close to reach our objective, 28,000 Juventini on the channel before the end of 2023. Will you do it or not? It depends on you. It depends on you, so do it now. We open now Tutto Sport that is speaking about Mercato, because if a lot of supporters of Juve especially gave up on the title race, some of people never even believed in it. Other people, they waited until Genoa Juve and Lazio Inter to say it's over at -4, we will never catch them. Tutto Sport is still believing in a race for the Scudetto. Why? Because they're speaking about Mercato with both teams, Inter and Juve, that want to reinforce themselves. Inter is looking to replace Quadrado on the right side with a player from Bruges, Buchanan, but that is absolutely not our problem. We are looking at our home, in Casa Nostra, and we are speaking about the midfield because we know it. Pogba and Fagioli will not continue to play this season with Juventus. On the other side, well, we have to pay attention because risking to not have a Rabiot, a Locatelli, a McKennie, a Miretti, it's really dangerous, because then we see that we have a big gap there in the midfield and we have to reinforce ourselves. We spoke about a lot of players. The one that is coming back with a lot of strength is Kalvin Philips, that is finishing on the first page of Tutto Sport. Mercato per due, a mercato for two teams. So the plus, the pros and the contrast, the minus of Kalvin Philips to Juve. I start with the positives because you know it. I am a person who is always looking at the positive side first. Well, it's a player that I always liked. He impressed me in 2019, 2020, 2021. The player that I always liked. I was really impressed by his physicality in the middle of the field, by his presence on the field. He was there. You saw him on the field. He was looking like he was taking like two spots. A player that is also able to go with a shot, a strong shot from the distance, something that we are lacking. Juventus is really lacking some shots from the distance that we can use. It's a player that is able also to have quantity, a lot of quantity on the midfield, not only in the 90 minutes, but also in a season, because he's able to play game in, game out, game in, game out. So a lot of positives, and on top of that, I want to tell you, a player that if he would join Juventus in the January market, you can know one thing: he will bring a lot of grinta and a lot of will to play with continuity, to convince his coach of the national team of England to call him up for Euro 2024. So in terms of commitment, you are sure that he's a player that will give 200%. On the other side, there are also a lot of contrast for the player. The first thing is, well, in terms of playing time, it's a player that is not playing this season. Never. He played that last game in Champions League in a game without any pressure. They were already first of the group. Their only objective with a lot of youth players was to play actually and to reach 18 on 18. That was it. He played it through the entire game. He even scored a penalty at the 85th, I believe. But that's not enough. Not enough for a player that I am asking that if he joins Juve in the winter mercato, if we sign him on the 6th of January, well, the 7th of January, he should already play against Salernitana. He should be ready. I can understand that there are some things that he has to adapt, understanding the locker room and so on, but he should be physically already ready to play against Salernitana on the 7th. And I'm not sure about it. On the other side, it's an adapting time. In the Mercato of the winter, it's always like that. Because in the summer, you have the preseason, you have time. In the winter, no. You arrive and you should be immediately ready to play. And you need that adaptation time. So it's always a gamble, always a guess. Is the player already ready to understand a new culture, a new language, new foods, new teammates, new coach, new tactical and explanation, especially if you come from Manchester City that is playing in a total different way than Juve. I have a lot of question marks there. Then the role, because not only it's not the regista with the brain that Allegri, but even Sarri and Pirlo always played with. We know it, Pirlo, Pjanic, a lot of players that played in that role, that they are there to manage the game, to keep the ball, to see to vision. Some people, they did better than other, but that's always the role that we had. While Philips is, yes, a regista, but more a defensive, aggressive regista that is breaking the lines of the opponents more, giving more freedom to the mezzala on the left and on the right to go up. So it's an adaptation to the role, and on top of that, you have to move a Locatelli that was playing with two men in the midfield at Sassuolo and never really played at the mezzala at Juve, except of some parts of games or really exceptional. So it's two players that you have to adapt with one signing. It's a bit too much. On the other side, I tell you, it's 6 months only, because if you want the details, Juventus and Manchester City apparently are really actively speaking with Juventus, that is offering 6 months on loan that they are not even paying, with half of the salary paid by Manchester City. City is answering and they are replying, okay, we can sit at the table, 6 months, why not? We pay part of the salary, half of the salary. On the other side, you need an obligation to buy. Why Juventus is saying, no, we go with an option to buy. And that's where the talks are going really strong, where there will be more meetings, not only one meeting, to understand if yes or no we want to go for 6 months or we really want to bet on the player. If we go for 6 months only, well, I'm not sure. I am not sure. Why? Because you are not building the future. You are just trying to solve this season only, and you are putting aside development from other players. Miretti will not see the field anymore, and some people, they already gave up on the youth player, but on the other side is a youth academy player that you can even sell later, but you need to give him freedom of playing. You need to give him time of playing. If you are not able to do that, well, Miretti will totally disappear from the field, but also from your finances, because you will not be able to sell him at 10, 15 million if he's not playing anymore. So 6 months you are more investing on Kalvin Philips for his own objective to reach Euro 24 than your own objective of developing your team. So I'm not sure about that. And you remember when we spoke about Allegri saying, I'm happy with the cohesive team, with the team spirit. There are no prima donna first ladies anymore at Juventus, which makes me happy because the team are ready to support each other for the common good of the team and not really for individual objectives. Well, if you sign a player for 6 months only with the only objective to play Euro 24, it's a bit contradictory. And then the last point before going to the other topics, well, apparently today I read that Allegri should be convinced because he's not 100% convinced yet about the player. It's over, huh? What are we speaking about? I told you a list of pros, I told you a longer list of contrasts, but that's the point of the iceberg. If Allegri is not convinced, why are we signing a player for 6 months, Kalvin Philips, with all the contrasts? So at the moment, my opinion is no. Don't go for Kalvin Philips. Is it a beautiful opportunity? Yeah, maybe. But no, don't go for it. Then, if he joins Juve in the winter Mercato, we'll find a solution. And I will hope and I will wish that he's doing the best. But at the moment, with everything that I told you, I am not convinced. Speaking about Miretti that I told you, but I know that Monza was on the player already in the summer. They wanted him on loan. Juventus said no. Also because we don't have a lot of players in the midfield. We believe in the guy. But Juventus wants to use Miretti maybe in the winter, maybe in the summer for another signing. A kind of swap plus money for Colpani. Colpani that this year impressed a lot. Last season already, but this season also. A young player that has a lot of potential. It's a more offensive player, and we know that Miretti has been played a lot of time by Allegri in that kind of 3-5-2, but more that offensive mezzala, transforming himself in a 3-4-1. Well, Miretti could go there. At the moment, Galliani is saying, no way. We didn't open any talk for Di Gregorio, the goalkeeper. And for Colpani, they stay with us until the end of the season, and we want to continue to build with them. What will happen in the future, in the summer, we don't know, but you see and you feel that Miretti is probably not anymore really at the center of the trust, of the belief of Juventus for this season and maybe not even for next season, thinking that also him, Miretti, needs a project where he can develop himself. Well, speaking about projects and the future, Huijsen could possibly go on loan. Where? To Frosinone. Why? Because Frosinone is a team that showed, at the contrary of a lot of other teams, that when we are loaning out players to them, they are playing. They played immediately the first game Barrenechea. Then from the moment that Solé arrived, they played Solé. And they are even now starting Ciao Juventini from the time that he recuperated physically 100% to play these games. So 3 players on loan and the 3 of them are playing. So you are sure that Huijsen could possibly play, or could possibly, if he deserves, he will play at Frosinone. It's a pity. Yes, of course, because it's a player that I believe in. I always spoke about Huijsen in a fantastic way on the channel. By the way, today in a few hours. There will be the documentary about Dean Huijsen and Kenan Yildiz on Juventus YouTube channel. I already watched it. It is just fantastic. So go and watch it after watching this video. But is it something that I am pro or contra? I will tell you that I'm actually pro. For what reason? Because at the moment, playing with 3 in the back, we don't have a lot of rotation. We are looking for stability, and having a player like Dean Huijsen that is playing not, he just played one time against Milan. It's a pity for his development. Wherever he played, with the under 17, with the under 19, with the next gen, he has always showed that he was ready to be a starter. Being a starter at Juventus' first team, where we know it, with Max Allegri, the first thing is stability in defense, and having a Danilo, a Bremer, a Rugani that showed really, really beautiful things, a Federico Gatti that also him needs to perform, well, his playing time is limited, and we need maybe to give him the opportunity to play with continuity in a championship that he deserves. It means Serie A, because going back to the next gen for a few games is good, it's fantastic, it's beautiful, but he already passed that moment. He's ready for a bigger one, and playing 6 months on loan could be beneficial for the kid. Why? Because in 6 months, Alexandro will leave Juventus. There are already some Turkish teams interested in him. Maybe in January, who knows? If he goes away in January, well, keep Dean Huijsen. If he stays in January until the end of the season, well, probably Dean Huijsen could really benefit of 6 months of playing time to come back at Juve and being one of the real rotation players. If not, who knows, a starter of Juve. Yesterday, Romeo Agresti, he confirmed on Twitter that the talks are really ongoing and are starting to be serious for Huijsen to Frosinone. What could be the other alternative why Huijsen is linked to Frosinone? Maybe because Juventus is opening talks to take away a player from Frosinone and give them another one in substitution. Giving them Huijsen on loan 6 months, taking back Solé, but not to bring him back to the first team, but maybe potentially to sell him. Where? To Premier League, because there are interest for the player. We know it. Juventus, they want to reinforce themselves in the midfield, and if you want to do it in an alternative to Kalvin Philips that should come for free, then you need some money. Ealing Jr. and Solé are 2 players that could possibly give that extra cash for Juve. So we take back Solé, we sell him, we take money, we sell Ealing Jr., you give to Frosinone Huijsen, you have money to go for a stronger or a player that is more impactful immediately than a Kalvin Philips. What player? I don't know. They're speaking about Cope manners, but I think it's really extremely difficult to sign him in January. Let's see. And we finish with the last topic that I told you that I wanted to speak about was a training session of yesterday. Rabiot didn't train with the team. Kostic trained in an isolated way. Will he recuperate or not for the team, for the game against Frosinone? Big question mark. It could be the moment for Kostic to rest. And where can we go into to play that game? Can it be a 3-5-2 with Cambiaso on the left side back and Wea to the right side? 2 players that we know it, they are putting a lot of crosses. They can also enter the field centrally, which Kostic is not able to do, or it doesn't do that much. Well, players that can offer different solutions up and also centrally. Could be an idea that was tested yesterday in training session. On the other side, what was also trained yesterday, we had 2 teams, a game in family with not Dusan Vlahovic, but Federico Chiesa with Milik in the striker session. So can it be the time for Dusan to rest on the bench and not play against Frosinone? It could be. Milik Chiesa, that yesterday found a really beautiful partnership in training session. In the opposition team, you had a Vlahovic that was playing with, in support, a trequartista that is Kenan Yildiz. So also there, big question mark. Can we see a different formation going towards that 3-4-1-2 with Kenan Yildiz behind Chiesa, Milik, or Chiesa, Vlahovic? It could be. It could be. Ealing was tested yesterday, again, as a mezzala, so I'm not sure if he will be the one that will substitute Adrien Rabiot. I think that the chances to see Miretti starting against Frosinone are lower and lower and lower. So quality could be the answer to play against Frosinone, a quality that we missed a lot against Genoa and that we have to do. We have to do in a way or in another. What else? We heard Magnanelli speaking about quality and intensity, quality and rhythm. These were the words that yesterday he was shouting in training session, asking Juventus to elevate the quality and the rhythm of the game, which we supporters, we tifosi are all asking for, especially things that we were lacking during the game against Genoa. Let me know everything you thought about this video, your comments about Philips, yes or no. Another player, what about Huijsen? Would it be the right solution for a dry loan, 6 months in Serie A? And let me know about the partnership. Dusan Vlahovic on the bench, yes or no? Let me know in the comments. Grazie, forza, Juve.